In this video today, I'm gonna be showing you how to make this kawaii cat. This pattern is great for beginners, especially left-handed beginners or anyone who just wants a cute, simple project. You can find all of these materials in a kit together in my Etsy shop, and you can find the link below. You'll find the yarn. This is Easy Peasy Yarn by Woobles, or you can get something like a beginner's yarn on Amazon that is this kind of material. You will also find the crochet hook. So here we have a size G6 or 4.25 millimeter crochet hook. Some needles. This one is called a tapestry needle. It's thicker, sometimes made from plastic, and has a blunt end. We also have another needle that I use for the embroidery. It has also a big eye but a sharper end. We have safety eyes. These are 10 millimeter safety eyes. They come with a back like this. Once you put the back on, it does not come off. We have embroidery thread. For this project, I use pink, white, and black. This is a stitch marker to help mark your place in your crochet. And also stuffing for the inside of the cat. All of this will come in the kit, or you can buy it separately and follow me along on this video as we crochet our kawaii cat. If you missed my first video about doing a magic ring, I'm going to review it a little bit here. But if you want to go back and watch it, you'll get more detail on that. So we're going to start out with a magic ring. If you're left-handed like me, holding your hook like a pencil, but a little higher up. And take the short end of the yarn in your left hand, the part attached to the ball in your right hand, and just make a circle like that where it crosses at the top. Take the long part behind. Okay, now we have a pretzel. Now with your hook, you're gonna pick up this right part of the pretzel here, just like that. See how the hook is sticking through? Okay, now I'm gonna kind of pinch everything with my left hand and readjust. I like to wrap the yarn around my pinky. That's how I hold the tension. Okay, now I'm pinching the pretzel with my right hand and kind of pulling up on that hook so I end up with a loop. I don't want it too big. That's a good size, right, like that. Okay, now I'm going to use my hook and I'm going to pick up the yarn and pull it through that loop. Okay, now I'm going to stick it through the ring. This big loop here is the ring. I'm going to put it through the ring, pick up the yarn, okay, pick up the yarn again and pull all the way through both of those. That was a little bit tight. Okay, now put it through the ring again, pick up. So we have two loops here. Pick up the yarn again. I like to keep pinched here where the work is happening. That kind of helps me hold everything firmly. Pull it through. We're gonna make 6 of these. They're called single crochet. So far we have 2. Okay, put the hook through the big loop. Pick up the yarn. 2 loops. Okay, now we're gonna pick up the yarn again, pull through those 2 loops, 3 single crochets, through the loop, pick up the yarn, pick up the yarn again. Okay, that's 4. Through the loop, pick up the yarn. Now we have 2 loops. Pick up the yarn again, pull it through. That's 5. Through the loop, pick up the yarn, pick up the yarn again, pull it through. That's 6. Now you see here we have a really big opening. The reason it's called a magic ring is it allows us to work easily, but then we can get rid of this opening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything down for a second. I like to pinch here kind of at the end. And I'm just going to pull on that short end and see how it's getting tighter? Keep pulling until it's all the way tight. No big hole in the middle. And now I can kind of adjust till it looks like a nice little ring. Now, most toys or amigurumi are worked in a spiral, so we're just going to keep working around like this. All right, the first thing we want to do is to do an increase. An increase is to do 2 single crochets and 1 stitch. Where do we start? We're going to start in the first single crochet from our last round. Remember we did 6, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. That's my 6th one. I'm going to stick my hook in that. Now I want to go, you can see right here, there's two loops. It kind of makes a U shape. I'm going to go under both of those. So use the end of the hook to go under both of them, just like that. Okay? And I'm going to wrap the yarn around my hook and pull through both of those. Okay, there I have 2 loops on my hook again. Remember what we did before. Pick up the yarn again, pull through. Now I want to go back. See how the one I worked is right here? Here was the original stitch we went through. I want to go back under those same stitches right there. It's because I'm doing 2 in the same one. Okay, so there I am again. Wrap the yarn around the hook, pull through, wrap the yarn around the hook, pull through again. Okay, that's our first increase. So we did 2. Now I'm going to do 2 in the next one. So moving along, the next stitch from where I am. So here's where the work I'm building is, right here. Here's the next stitch. We'll see it from the top. I want to go under both of those. So I'm going to push my hook through. I'm pushing it through this space right here. There's a space right under, okay? And I want to make sure to go through both of those. Pick up the yarn, pull it through, wrap the yarn around again, pull it through. Okay, that's my 3rd one on this round. Now remember, I want to go back in that same one because there's 2 in each. So right where I can see this one was, I'm going to go back through the same space. Wrap the yarn around, pull it through, wrap the yarn around again, pull it through. I'm going to keep doing that until I have worked 12. Okay, so that's 2 in each of the stitches, and I'll end up with 12 total. So right now I have 4. Here's number 5. Okay, back in the same one. 6. If ever you lose track on this round, the even numbers should be the 2nd one in the stitch. The odd numbers should be the 1st one in the stitch. So now I have 6, number 7 goes right here. So starting there, 7, go back in the same one stitch. And what we're doing right now is called single crochet. On a pattern, you will see SC. Okay, there's 8. Sometimes they will mark it INC for increase. That means doing 2 in the same stitch. Okay, there's 9, 10, 11, 12. Now what if I'm not sure I have the right amount? It's good to, especially when you're a beginner, or even if you're you've more experience, to count your stitches every once in a while. So I like to, if I'm going to take my hook out, I'm going to pull up on that loop so it doesn't accidentally get pulled through. And I'm going to count how many stitches I have, starting with this one right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I should be ending on the one right before the working loop, 12. Okay, so I have 12, exactly what I wanted. All right, now a lot of amigurumi, when we're initially making this spiral, we're going to increase. This is called a round. We just did the second round. We're going to increase by 6 each time, and we need to spread that out pretty evenly. Okay, so this time we have 12. We want to go up 6 more to 18. Okay, 18 divided by 6 is 3. So how we're going to do this is I'm going to do 1 single crochet and 1 increase. Okay. Okay, so got your hook back in the loop. Got your yarn back wrapped around your hand. All right. Starting round 3. So I'm going in the next stitch just like we've done before. This time I'm only doing 1. So 1 single crochet. The next one will be an increase, so I'm going to do 2 in the same one. Put my hook in here. So I'm going to do, pull up my loop. There's 2, 3. Okay, every once in a while I got to pull out more yarn from the ball. Okay, the next one's going to be 1. So stitch number 4 is just 1 single crochet. So that's number 4. And I always keep count in my head as I'm going around. Okay, the next one is the increase. So 5 and 6 goes in the same one. 6. Okay, next one. 7. Next one is increase. Right here. 8. 9 goes in the same one. 9. Okay. Next one is single. 10. Next one is increase. 11. 12. Okay. Next one is single. 13. Okay, next one is increase. 14. 15. Next one is single. 16. Next one is increase. 17 in the same one. 18. Now let's say you messed up. Let's say you realized that you did 17 and 18 as a single, okay? The great thing about single crochet or about crochet is it's really easy to pull out. So I can just take my hook out, pull on this yarn here. Let me pull out my yarn a little bit. So I'm just going to pull out that loop and put the hook back in the loop there. And then I can do the increase like I meant to do. So there we go, 18. And what you should have is a shape that's just very slightly a dome shape, okay? In other types of yarn, it might almost be flat because we can kind of flatten it out here. But it naturally does a little bit of a dome shape, just like that. Okay, and this is a really good pattern for making anything that's kind of round. All right, and let's pull out our yarn a little bit more. Okay, the next round, so that was round 3, the next round, round 4, is going to be, remember we increased by 6, so this was 18. The next round will be 24, and it will be by 4s. So the first 2 are going to be single crochets, and then 3 and 4 will be an increase. All right, so let's start our 4th round right here. Okay, so that's number 1, 2. Okay, now we're going to do our increase. 3 and 4 are an increase. 3, 4. I'm moving a little faster now. Hopefully you're getting a little bit more confident in your stitches and how you're holding the yarn. Okay, now single crochet, 5, single crochet, 6, increase. Okay, so 7 and 8 go in the same stitch. So 7, now back in the same stitch, 8. Okay, next one, single, 9, single, 10, 11 and 12 are increased. So 11. If you're having trouble identifying the increase, see this right where I just did 11? I want to just go back into that same hole. That's my increase. 12. Okay, 13 is single. 14 is single. 15 and 16 is increase. So in the same one, 15. Same one. 16. All right, now my ball is getting a little tight. See how I'm getting less room, so I want to pull out some more yarn. Okay, so the next one, 17 is single. 18 is single. 19 and 20 is increase. Okay, 21 is single. 22 is single. 23 and 24 is increase. 23, 24. Okay. All right. So that was 24, right? So if we're going to increase by 6, that means we're going to 30. So that means we're going to count by 5s for our increase. Now, at some point when I'm increasing, I want to change the place I increase in, okay? So if you'll notice, your work might start to have some little corners to it. You can kind of see a little bit of a corner here. If we move where we do the increase, so not doing the increase at the end of the 5th one, if we do it in the middle, it will help even that out and make it more round. I'll help you keep track of it, okay? So let's start our next round with number 1. And then we're actually going to make the next one an increase. So 2 and 3. So 2, 3 is an increase. 4 is single. 5 is single. Okay, and don't be afraid to pause. Kind of loosen up the yarn from the ball. Rewrap it around and keep going. Okay, 6 is single. Now 7 and 8 is going to be increase. 7. Now back in the same one. 8. Okay. 9. Single. 10 is single. Okay. 11 is single. 12 and 13 is going to be our increase. 12. Back in the same one. 13. Okay, 14 is single. 15 is single. Okay, next, 16 is single crochet. 17 is the increase. So 17 and 18 together. 17. Back into the same spot. 18. My yarn is getting a little tight, so I gotta loosen it up from that ball. Okay. 19 single crochet. 20 single crochet. If I'm getting ahead of you, just pause the video till you can catch up. 21 is single crochet. 22 is going to be an increase, so 22 and 23 goes back into the same stitch. 24 is single. 25 is single. Okay. 26 single crochet. 27 is the increase. 27. Now back in the same one. 28. 29. 30. All right. So you can kind of see we're working on the base. Right at this point, this is how big I want the face to be. I know his face looks a little bigger. It's going to get that way as we start to curve for the long part. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to just single crochet all the way around. And at this point, it's going to be useful to put in a stitch marker. A stitch marker looks something like this. If you don't have one of these, you can use a safety pin. And it just helps us mark where the beginning is. So far, because we've been counting, it was easy to know where the beginning of the next round was. Now, because we're only going to do single crochet, it's easy to get lost. So I'm going to take this and just kind of behind where my hook is, I'm going to put, or right underneath my hook, I'm going to put this marker. That lets me know this was the beginning, okay? And I'm just going to single crochet all the way around now. So no more increases for now. So starting in the next stitch, I'm just going to do single crochets. Okay? And you can count them if you want. Remember, there was 30. Or you can just keep going till you get back around to that blue, the blue stitch marker. Okay. So what happens now that we're only doing single crochets, we're not increasing anymore, is it's going to start making a straight tube-like pattern. The edges are gonna go straight up instead of curving out. So if you're looking at my cat here, so this is the part we did. Now we're curving and doing the long part of the body. And it won't look like it the first couple rounds, but by the time you get to round, you've done just single crochet for about 3 or 4 rounds, it will definitely be moving back in that direction. So if you're getting behind, remember, just pause. We're just single crocheting all along in each stitch all the way around until we get back to where that stitch marker is. So on a pattern, a lot of times the way this will be written is SC around. So SC is for single crochet. Around means just go all the way around the work until you get back to the beginning. And that's why it's helpful to mark the beginning with a stitch marker. And then it might tell you how many times to do that, for how many rows. For example, it might say rows 7 through 14. And that means you kind of have to keep track each row. So each of these is a row, right? What I'm doing now is a stitch. And right here, we're almost back to the beginning. Remember, I put it in right underneath. Okay, so I did 1 round of single crochet only. Okay, now I want you to continue that until you have done that 8 more times. So I'm going to pause the video for a minute. I think you can work alone for a bit and keep working your way around for 8 more times. Okay, So now we've gotten to 9 rows of single crochet from our stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now is a good time to go ahead and place the eyes on your Kawaii Kitty. So I've gone ahead, we can take the stitch marker out. I've gone ahead and put some pins in there to help me. But what we want to do is the eyes are going to go about 3 rows out from the center. So the first one doesn't matter as much where we place it as long as we count out 3 rows. Okay, so I'm going to count, here's the middle, 1, 2, right there, 3. Now the next eye does matter a little bit. I do want to be 3 rows out, so same 1, 2, 3, but I want to be about 1, 2, 3 stitches between them, okay? If I get more than that, then the eyes are a little too wide apart and it looks kind of funny. All right, there. Now these backs, once we place them, you won't be able to move them, so make sure you're happy with where the eyes are placed. Okay, now I'm going to kind of push this so you can see the back. I like to put it so the cupped side is facing the work. And you're just going to push those on. Sometimes they're kind of hard to push on. There you go. And let's do the other one. So. All right, perfect. Now we can continue with the decrease portion. So when we decrease, we're starting to curve around towards the back of our amigurumi. Okay, of our Kawaii Kitty. Decrease is usually written as D-E-C, and it's a little bit confusing at first. Once you get it though, it'll be easy. So, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna crochet 2 stitches together. And we do that, let me show you the top of this. What we're gonna do is, instead of putting the hook under both loops like we normally do, if we call these front loop, back loop, we're only going to put it under the front loop. And then I'm actually going to put it under the front loop of the next one. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and pick up my yarn, pull it through, pick up my yarn again, pull it through. And we're going to do that for every 4th stitch until we have 24. Okay, so there's 1. Now the next one can be kind of tricky. I don't want to go right here for the next one. I want to go right here, looking from the top. This is part of my decrease. I want to go in this one. Okay, this is going to be single crochet. So 2 single crochet. Number 3 is single crochet. And 4 is single crochet. Okay, 5 will be decrease again. All right, so remember, looking from the top, pick up the front loop. And then the front loop of the next one. Pull that through, wrap the yarn, pull through again. Okay, that's 5. Now we're doing single crochet. So remember, this is right here is part of my decrease, so the single crochet goes right here. 6, single crochet 7, single crochet 8. Okay, next is going to be that decrease again. So pick up front loop only, and then front loop again. I'm going to pick up my yarn, go through both. That's 9. Okay, now here is where my single crochet goes. 10, single crochet, 11, single crochet, 12. Okay, next is that decrease again. So picking up only the front loops for the next 2. Grab the yarn and pull it through both loops. Grab the yarn again, pull through both loops. Okay. Single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. Okay, we're going to do another decrease. So picking up the front loops, front loop. Okay, wrap the yarn and pull it through both. Wrap the yarn, pull it through both loops. Okay, the single crochet goes right here. Single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. All right, let's do another decrease. So pick up that yarn or pick up the front loop, and then the front loop of the next one, pull it through 2, pull through again, the single crochet goes here, single crochet, single crochet. Okay, at this point, I lost count. So remember we wanted 24, so let's just count how many we have. All right, starting right here. Starting right here where my loop is at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Perfect. We're going to decrease again by 6. So that will bring us to 18. Okay? So that means every third one is going to be a decrease. All right, so let's start with single crochet. 1, 2, now decrease, front loops only, 3. On a pattern, decrease will often be written as D-E-C, decrease. Okay, single crochet 4, single crochet 5, single crochet 6, actually sorry, decrease should be 6, decrease. Single crochet 7, kind of bring out some of my yarn here. Okay, single crochet 8, single crochet, decrease 9, now remember, I don't want to go right here, I want to go here for the next one. Single crochet 10, single crochet 11, decrease 12. Okay, going right in here. single crochet 13, single crochet 14, decrease 15. Okay, going in right here, single crochet 16, single crochet 17, decrease 18. Okay. What you can see is that the top is starting to close. So this is actually a really good time to stuff it before it gets too tight that it's hard to fit your fingers in there. So I just take the stuffing in small balls like this and start to shove it in there. Okay. Keep going until you have it stuffed pretty tightly. Okay, you see it's starting to look pretty full, but it's still pretty squishy. I can still keep shoving some in there and packing it a little tighter. Especially making sure down on the edges it's getting full. Since the stuffing does compact over time, you really want to try to get it as tight as possible. Now, one thing I can do is at this point, stop stuffing, do one more round of decrease, and then stuff a little bit more, okay? So the next decrease, we're going down to 12. So this is a little bit tighter. I need to do a decrease every other one. So I'll do one single crochet, one decrease. All right, and at this point, everything's kind of sideways. So, work slowly, kind of working that hook in. Now remember, my last one was a decrease, you can see there. So I want to start here. So single crochet. Sorry about that. Single crochet and then a decrease. So picking up those front loops, holding it really close with my fingers is going to help me get everything. Grab the yarn, pull up the loop. Okay, that's 2. Okay, here's the next one I want to work in right here. So single crochet, okay, and then decrease. This is going to be number 4. So picking up those front loops, grab the yarn, pull it through. Okay, that's 4. This is the next one right here for single crochet. 5. Okay, the next one's decrease. Let me get some more yarn from my ball here. Okay, so decrease for 6, number 6. Okay, I'm going to single crochet in this one here. That will be 7. Okay, decrease. 8. Okay, now right here is going to be single crochet 9. As I'm going, I'm kind of pushing some of that filling in too. 10. I'm my decrease is 10. Okay, right here, single crochet 11, and then decrease 12. Okay, I'm going to pull up on my loop a little bit here so you can see. So you can see why we stuffed it earlier, because that hole's gotten pretty small now. But this is the moment where I want to add any last minute filling, because after this we're going to make the hole even smaller and then close it up. So taking smaller amounts, you can kind of shove it down in. Especially filling up any sides that feel like they have a gap to you. But you can kind of squish it around to see what you think. Okay, that feels pretty good to me. I could get it tighter if I wanted to. It does make it harder to close that up at the end. So keep that in mind. All right, so this point is going to get a little bit more challenging, but you can do it. All right, we're going to go and we're going to do decreases all over the way around. So decrease 6 times. All right, I'm going to kind of stick my pointer finger in there to really hold everything close. So starting right here, I'm going to do a decrease. I'm grabbing that. Okay, that's going to be my first one. Okay, so then the next one's going to start right here. It's okay if you feel a little bit like you're wrestling it. I always do that at the end. Okay, that was number 2. Okay, so there's my decrease. The next one starts right here. Three. Okay, only 3 more. The next one starts right here. Okay. There's 4. All right. Now the next one's going to be right there. So I like to keep my finger there to give it something to brace against. Okay, 5. One more. Okay. This last one's a bit more, probably the most challenging. You can kind of release now. Pull it through. All right. Now you can see we just have a tiny hole left. So what you're gonna do is take your scissors. I like to give myself a bit of a tail to work with, and we're gonna cut that yarn. Okay, I left my hook in there because we're gonna pull the end of the yarn all the way through. This is called fastening off, okay? So go ahead and hook that yarn around and pull it through that last loop all the way through. All right. Now to close up that hole, take your tapestry needle, that's the one with the blunt end, and thread that yarn through. This yarn is a bit challenging to thread through. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, with that remaining hole, I'm just going to go kind of in and out. So starting here, go in, out, through all 6 stitches. In, out, in, and doesn't want to go in. There we go. Okay, and then pull it tight. Now to get rid of this little end here, what we're going to do is we're going to poke that end through and just poke it out anywhere. Pull it all the way through. If you're having a challenge, sometimes loosen it up. Pull it through. All right, we've tied off the end, and you can just pull and clip that string that's coming out. And now we finished the body of our kawaii cat. If you found this video helpful so far, make sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to move on to the next video where we'll work on the feet, tail, and ears.